X-Men movies in general have gone through a decline, there's no doubt about that. Turn back the clock and imagine it's the year 2000, the turn of the century, and X-Men is playing in theatres. You grab a popcorn, or not if you're not into enabling crony capitalism, you take a seat, and it's finally happening. The moment you've been waiting for. Your childhood is right there on screen. Professor X, Magneto, Jean Grey, Wolverine, Cyclops, everyone's there, and it's glorious. 2 hours later, you come out of the theatre with the biggest smile on your face. Now, imagine it's June 2019. X-Men Dark Phoenix is playing in theatres. You go to watch it, guessing it will suck, and you come out knowing that it sucked so hard. That's what happened to our beloved franchise. But don't lose hope, fellow mutants. Not everything is dark and depressing like the New Mutants. There's a few rays of hope that can bring back the X-Men back to their glory. One of the strategies going forward should be giving Quicksilver his own solo movie. And honestly, we have a host of compelling reasons to guess that a Quicksilver movie is on the cards. First of all, why a solo movie in the X-Men franchise, and why Quicksilver? The only other mutant from the X-Men universe to get a solo release is Logan. Look how that turned out. Logan has had 3 X-Men movies to lead. The last 2 were under the sci-fi/western genre, and the first one was under the disaster movie genre. Get it? 'Cause it was a disaster. Lame. But here are the numbers that show solo X-Men movies actually work. The Deadpool movie to begin with is still the biggest hit of the X-Men franchise, and Wolverine's solo adventures further confirm it. Despite being a crappy movie, Wolverine Origins earned almost $375 million, and the second one earned $416 million. Logan was obviously the best of the lot, and it earned $615 million, making it the 4th highest grosser of the whole X-Men franchise. Why are we still talking about Wolverine? Well, because his solos have earned him quite a lot, and since he's pretty much dead in Logan, the studios can't milk Hugh Jackman's popularity anymore. The recent ensemble X-Men movies such as X-Men Apocalypse and X-Men Dark Phoenix failed miserably, and this goes on to show that you need characters in movies that people can relate to, characters people actually care about and would pay money to go and watch in action. Both the young and old Professor X's and the Magnetos are tied up by their own limitations, so you need a wild card who's able to swing the crowd in his favour, the way Wolverine did. Now, when we come to think of it, there's only one character that's recently created a sizable visibility among the overcrowded X-Men movies: the Quicksilver. Days of Future Past introduced us to the speedster mutant, and we all know the Pentagon kitchen scene is probably the most memorable scene in X-Men history. What should make Quicksilver the first mutant to get a solo movie after Wolverine is the whole coolness that he brings to the scenes and the credible stories that can be told surrounding him. Deadpool is technically part of the same universe, but we know he's not really part of the team now, is he? So that leaves us with Quicksilver, and honestly, he's a fine specimen to work on solo movies. If we look back at Quicksilver's journey from Days of Future Past to Dark Phoenix, his character had to suffer through the same trajectory as the X-Men movies. Started off with a bang, and then lost steam as it went along, only to end up as a character no one gives a shit about. Well, Fox couldn't completely butcher Quicksilver yet, the way they did every good thing about the X-Men movies. The lack of presence in Dark Phoenix gives the makers an opportunity to tell the stories of Quicksilver in a standalone movie. Pietro Maximoff is a character that brings much needed zeal to the group. The group of X-Men aren't really known for their tongue-in-cheek humor. Don't get us wrong, you don't need to be a part-time comedian to be a superhero, but a bit of lightness helps sometimes, doesn't it? After all, we have to remember these are sci-fi movies where people in spandex and capes are saving the world, again and again. X-Men movies are generally pretty serious in tone, and even the young characters seem to be lame. I mean, look at Cyclops, such a cool character in the comics, but you wouldn't tell him apart when they're fighting together in the movies. The focus on the groupness of X-Men turned out to be a double-edged sword. We remember the X-Men and just a few major X-Men like Charles Xavier, Magneto, Wolverine, and Mystique. Ensembles have their own destiny to fulfill, but the solo movies focus on one particular character, the crisis of that character, the troubles, and the inspiring ways how the character comes out victorious creates a one-on-one connection with the audience. And when the character appears with a team, we root for the team and for that character. Just like Logan, MCU movies may appear as theme parks to some, but they sure know themselves and their audience. The comic book movies are based on some of the stillest concepts out there, and they don't pretend to be otherwise. The motto is simple: good effing entertainment and an inspiring story to make you believe in something. But the X-Men franchise desperately needs a facelift. They try to be dark and serious, and honestly, they're not even doing a good job with that. We don't relate to the characters, and basically, we don't care much about their whereabouts. Now, among the boring mutants, Quicksilver's like a breath of fresh air. He's fun, he's quirky, and he does his job in style. Quicksilver is the one that can bring the X-Men franchise to the speed. Pun very much intended there. Just look at another young and fun superhero in the MCU camp, Spider-Man. After debuting in Civil War, Spider-Man got his solo movie and successfully made people care about him. This translates into the amazing chemistry Peter Parker shares with Tony Stark in Infinity War. Spider-Man's death in that film tugged at our heartstrings, and before we knew it, Spider-Man was a bona fide superhero in the MCU. The Spider-Man movies also come with different flavors compared to the big-budget Avengers movies. Staying true to Spidey's character, the films are small-scale, relatable teenage dramas, but with superpowers. The grounded approach in Spider-Man Far From Home worked perfectly in a world of Endgame hangover. Similarly, after the big hit Days of Future Past and before Apocalypse, Fox missed the chance to explore Quicksilver more. Even in X-Men Apocalypse, Quicksilver's story seemed to be bigger than it actually was. They hinted to explore his relationship with his father Magneto, but they never quite did that, did they? Maybe in a solo film, perhaps? No. Dark Phoenix came and took a big L on our new favourite mutant. But, as we've said already, Quicksilver's lack of presence in that movie means that he can still come out unscathed with a solo movie. We've long been teased about the impending conversation between Peter and Eric, but even after 3 films, we're yet to witness that. On top of that, Quicksilver has some amazing stories in the comics that can be nicely tied up with the X-Men movie narratives. The biggest and most plausible would be the long-awaited confrontation between Magneto and Quicksilver. In the 4th issue of Uncanny X-Men, we see Magneto leading the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants that Peter and Wanda are also part of. Peter's been long controlled by the evil urges of Magneto, but when he realizes that Magneto's plan will kill hundreds of innocent people, he goes against him and with the help of his super speed stops Magneto's plan. This story can be easily told in the movies. Since we see that in present time old Magneto's not in touch with his son, maybe in the past something happened that triggered the fallout. Maybe this story can be the one that does that. This arc not only brings to the fore the complex relationship between Magneto and Quicksilver, it also humanizes the latter. There's another reason that makes us believe a Quicksilver movie will be a winner in the coming years. In the next few years, we're gearing up to see another mega speedster movie, The Flash. DC Extended Universe's solo Flash movie will feature the incredible Flashpoint Paradox arc, which will open up the multiverses in the DCEU. This will put Flash right in the middle of everything. He's going to play a very important part going forward. Since MCU's Quicksilver died an embarrassing death in Age of Ultron, the Marvel camp is now devoid of any speedster, so they'll need someone to match up to Flash or even one-up him. It's easy to see why they need a solo Quicksilver movie. If you have any doubts about how people will receive these movies, just remember that the Sonic the Hedgehog movie came out this year. Right from its first look, it set out to be a disaster, but the studio actually listened and made a few necessary changes, and the end product was surprisingly fun and entertaining. This is what happens when studios actually set aside their egos and try to come out with the best stories. Quicksilver is by far the most popular X-Men to have come out in the post-Wolverine era. They really need to make sure he doesn't meet the wrong fate the way Mystique, Jean, Storm, and Cyclops have faced. And for that, a solo movie will be the perfect thing. The future belongs to speed, and Disney will do well to give the fan favourite Quicksilver the solo movie he deserves. So that's why we think we'll finally see a solo Quicksilver movie soon. Even if there aren't any plans for it, consider it the start of a fan movement. And when the lockdown is over, let's create enough noise about a Quicksilver movie that the studio is compelled to give us one.
Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself